and we've got the special sauce to win you some money. Kyle Scott, crossingbroad.com on the odds and how to bet this game as the Eagles getting ready for the Bills. And I guess, Kyle, I mean, one thing we'll ask you before we get to the odds and trends and how to bet this game is, the Orlando Scandrick came out and he blasted them. The Eagles fired right back. I mean, I don't know if that affects the betting line at all, but what a day this has been.
Yeah, I mean, that is an all-time great moment in team social media use. Like, that is a top 5. It's funny. It proves a point. It doesn't need to, it speaks for itself. Absolutely flawless social media on the part of the Eagles today.
Yeah, big win there, right? Big win there on that one. As I don't know how much credibility we put into Scandrick first because he was a Cowboy, and now because he's basically mic'd up and the Eagles nail him on that. But Jenkins comes out. I could give 2 craps about Scandrick. We move on. So how do we look at this game now? I thought the line was kind of interesting. It felt to me that Vegas, Atlantic City, whoever, kind of doesn't believe in the Bills and kind of still believes in the Eagles a little bit with that original 1.5.
Yeah, I mean, look, and even starting with the Scandrick thing, to me, that changes my view on the game. All week I've been kind of telling anyone who will listen that this feels like this could be a classic bottom-out game for the Eagles. Like, if we thought last week was bad, losing to the Bills, is going to, even though they might be a better team than the Cowboys, is, going to feel worse. I just got the sense that, this was one of those times you really got to bottom out. However, there does seem to be quite a bit of rallying around going on this team. They are a fairly talented team that has been through the wars, and it's not like they're completely washed up here. You have a lot of talented, prideful guys on this team. And if nothing else, the Scandrick thing certainly seems like it's going to be a rallying point for this week. So my very subjective view on the game has changed over the last 24 hours. If these guys have any level of pride, you think that you're going to see their best possible effort.
Now, interestingly enough, your own Bob Weinkel tweeted out about 5 hours ago that he would be willing to wager that most of what Orlando Scandrick said today was spot on.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's probably some truth to it. It feels super disingenuous for a guy to, leave a team, then go on TV and try and kick off his TV career by throwing out some incendiary comments, true or not. But there's clearly issues this team has. Like, I don't think anybody could really debate that. There's enough smoke there that there's certainly some fire. That said, I mean, this is a relatively decent football team and at times great football team over the last 2 to 3 years with this same core. Unless it's just an absolute mess in there, you would think that there should be enough in the tank for these guys to pull together and put together an effort this week, considering that it's the whole, world versus us mentality. So, I mean, that's sort of I thought all week they were going to get blown out. Now I'm feeling a little bit better. And when you start looking at some of these betting trends about teams in this situation, these kind of underachieving road underdogs against, good teams coming off wins and all of that, every single trend points in the Eagles' direction. Everyone.
Yeah, I was going to get to that. So what are some of the interesting things that jump out about this spot that the Eagles are in and this game against Buffalo, which, depending on where you are, it's jumped around 1.5, 2, 2.5. So give us some trends and things that you're seeing on this one.
Yeah, so we're operating off like 2 to 2.5 based on most of these trends. And, you should probably do a better job each week of explaining it. The trends are always based on a theory. So in this case, the theory is, road underdogs who feel like they should be a bigger dog based on their record playing against a pretty good team. What actually happens in those situations? And it's quite favorable. So I'm just going to cherry pick a few of these here. Road underdogs, if 2.5 points or less, coming off a 25-point plus loss, playing a team coming off a win, 3-1 against the spread. Road dogs, if 2.5 or less, that failed to cover in the previous 2 games, playing a team's coming off a win, 13-8. Road dogs that have failed to cover previous 2 games, playing a team coming off a win, 94-66-6 against the spread. And one more, road dogs of 3 or less that have failed to cover in previous 2 games, just generally are 52-36 32-4 against the spread. So, what this tells you is these road underdogs where you have this low line that actually is, it's a road line when it's under 3 with teams that are coming off losses with not great records. They typically do well in this situation, and this is one of those cases of historically the line has been telling you something here that, hey, don't try and throw out last week what happened. This team's a little bit better than maybe the world is giving them credit for right now.
Yeah, all the signs do point towards a road victory with the Eagles. Then you couple everything that's been going on this week, Kyle, and you can't help but be optimistic, I guess, and hope that it's a rallying cry for the Philadelphia Eagles, but easier said than done. For me, I'm looking at the total, and I want your thoughts on the over-under because in my mind, it just seems like it's a slam dunk for the under, and you throw in the rain and the weather that's supposed to take place in Buffalo this week. Am I missing something here? Because this just screams under any way you look at it, Kyle.
Yeah, it does, and the weather, is certainly going to be a factor. However, two really interesting trends that do point towards an over here. So the over 19-8 in Bills home games since the start of the 2016 season, and it's 11-4 in Bills home games when the Bills are favored, and it's also 19-9 in Eagles road games since the 2016 season. We've talked about this before. Doug Peterson road over is typically a good play, and it's actually 12-13 when the Eagles are a road underdog. So there are these over pointing trends, but I think two things working against that are, potential weather concerns, and then also when you look at kind of like the game props or game parlay opportunities, the Eagles winning and the over is one of the higher payouts at plus 310. In fact, it's the higher payout when you pair the spread with the total by a pretty wide margin. So that tells you that that is the least likely of these possible outcomes according to the books. I'd also look at that and say, if you take a look at some of these trends, that also provides you the most value. So it really just sort of depends on how you want to look at it. But plus 310 for the Eagles to cover and the over, should make you feel better about
I like that.
An underplay. Yeah.
I definitely like that. Kyle Scott, crossingbroad.com. By the way, for your listening pleasure, Orlando Skandrick doing the car wash is what they call. Apparently he was on the herd with Colin Cowherd today as well and continued on his rant against the Eagles. So we'll try to get some of that audio as well. Overall, Kyle, what is the all the trends, all the odds, what's the play?
So, the bets, it depends on the book. So, I'm trying to look at the numbers here. Depends on the book. William Hill's taking 73% of the bets on the Bills, but 76% of the money is on the Eagles. Some of the overall books, which includes offshore books, 53% of the bets on the Bills, but 67% of the money, and the money line, of course, is all over the Eagles. So, I could certainly see this game going either way, and I'm not going to be surprised if they get blown out by 24 and this is a true bottoming out. But if these guys have any pride left, they're certainly a good enough team to go on the road and win a game against the Bills. I would take where there's some value here on a team that's kind of down and out. I like that Eagles to win, or even Eagles plus 1.5, and the over you can get at plus 310. I think just from a fan standpoint, if you want a little bit of money on this game and you don't want to continue hating the home team, that gives you a lot of good value on a team that came into the season pretty highly ranked. And by the way, if you can find it, I haven't seen any posted yet. I still love a Nelson Aguilar prop. You have to figure at some point, Carson's going to try and get him sprung for deep ball to silence the haters, as they say. And he does have enough speed to snap one off and go over, something like 62, 65 receiving yards. If you can find that, I'd put a little, like I say, a little roulette chip down on that and see what happens.
There you go.
I figure it'll take a shot to Aguilar.
I like it. I love the the big value plays there. So throw a little money, try to win big. Kyle Scott, crossingbroad.com. We look each week at the trends and how to bet the game. The Eagles and Bills. 97.3 ESPN's coverage begins at 10 a.m. with Tony Bruno. Hopefully Tony's okay. And then, of course, Merrill and Mike. Kyle, appreciate it as always, man. We'll talk to you next week.
All right. Thanks, guys.